Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to a session on Gen AI Advantage and ERP transformation. We will deep dive today into how cutting edge technologies like AI and Gen AI are reshaping ERP transformations to maximize ROI. More on that later, but first, let me introduce myself. I am Vaishnavi Desai from the economic team, and I'll be joined by Firaz Baus, who's the Vice President Go to Market for Apps, Data, and AI at Kyndryl. And I also have with me Mr. Piyush Srivastav, Head IT of North for Muthoot Group. Welcome, Firas. Welcome, Piyush, to the session.
Thank you.
In India's dynamic digital landscape today, CIOs are navigating complex challenges from change management to building scalable foundations for ERP modernization. Today, especially over the course of the conversation, we will explore practical strategies to overcome these hurdles and also leverage AI with trusted enterprise data to drive impactful outcomes. We will also uncover actionable insights to help you future proof your ERP journey and thrive in an increasingly competitive market. Without further ado, let's get started. Before that, another housekeeping announcement. Over the course of the session, I'm sure you'll have a couple of questions and clarifications. Kindly leave them in the chat box and we will get them answered at the end of the session. I repeat, if you have any questions that might come up during the course of the session, kindly leave them in the chat box and we will get them answered at the end of the session. Firaz, I would request you to take us a little bit through Kyndryl and throw some highlights on some of the solutions or upcoming groundbreaking innovation that's happening, and then we will proceed to an interesting fireside chat.
Thank you. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you, team, for hosting us, for being with us on this fine Friday. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So look, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes before we get into the lively discussion to introduce Kyndryl for those who may have not worked with us, or for those who have worked with us. Maybe in the past, things have changed. So Kyndryl as a brand is fairly new, 3.5 years, give or take. But the group that's now Kyndryl has been doing what we are doing, which is professional services, for over 35 years. In other words, we are a spin-off from another company 3.5 years ago. We're 80,000 strong, covering in excess of 80 countries worldwide, servicing 4,000 plus enterprise customers and so on. So very, very wide in terms of the breadth of the capabilities that we offer to our customers. The picture here that you see depicts how we are organized. We've divided our competencies across what we call practices, 6 of them, covering domains like the digital workplace, in other words, the end user services, cloud, the core enterprises, that's mainframe. We support twice the number of MIPS that any other providers does, and so on. We look at these as domains to draw skills from in support of our customers, the centerpiece of everything that we do. And we do so in a consultative way. The reason is very simple. We never pretend to know the answer. We know how to get to the answer with our customers, and when we assemble the right pieces to do so. And we do so with things like what you see referenced here as the Kyndryl Vital, which is a framework for us to engage and co-create with our customers. And then we do so with a delivery. The fundamental cornerstone of our delivery model is something called Kyndryl Bridge, and that's why you see it here at the center of this graphic. As the name implies, Bridge, it's a framework to connect insights and data, to bridge insights and data from different systems, the systems that we use to run the IT landscape for our customers, and honestly, the systems that they use that are out of our scope. It's a matter of just getting those connections. And this becomes a massive body of knowledge for insights, for predictions. In other words, we use this to deliver the services for our customers, but also to engage them. Gone are the days where my customer will call me to say, what's the health of this system? Give me a status of this or that or the other. They get to log in and see things at a glance the same way I do. And then, of course, everything is underpinned with our managed services and our alliances, one of the most important things, so that we can always assemble the right combination of skills and technologies for our customers. Sorry, it took probably a little too long. You can see the passion about what we do and what we offer for our customers.
Absolutely not, Firas. That was insightful, and it gave us a window. And more on that during the fireside conversation as well. Piyush, if you'd like to also go ahead and introduce yourself and Muthoot Group.
Okay, yeah, and thank you, Vaishnavi, for this nice fireside chat, and Firas for representing Kyndryl. Obviously, it's a big name, and we all have been involved in some way or the other. Now, talking about my company, it's called the Muthoot Group. Primarily, the legal entity is Muthoot Finance, which is an NBFC, and primarily into loans. The major part of the loan is the gold loan section, um, which is primarily we are the leaders in this segment. So currently, we have about 7,000 plus branches across India. We have about 2.5 lakh customers walking each day, and each of our branches have strong rooms and security systems. So all the gold which we have of our customer for loan is there, very close to them, thus giving them a feeling of trust, and accessibility. So we are the most trusted financial services brand for last 9 years. So we have a lot of plus with us. I would say more primarily because of the kind of asset which we give of the customers. It's a very emotional asset, especially in India. As you would understand, it's a jewelry, so it comes from their parents, grandparents. So it's a family thing. So they would not want to sell it off to get money. They would rather put it on, loan and get whatever. It's so about 70% of our customers are, rural or semi-urban. So primarily for, small businesses, or, just to enhance their business, or more than 12 months, they would want to keep the gold. So, and like that, we have a good solid customer base, with us, about 60 to 80 lakh active customers are there with us. So that's about us. Technology, yes, we have a lot of technology to look at, considering the size we are. And I'm happy to take questions from Vaishnavi or Firas, as it may be.
Thank you so much, Piyush, for that insightful introduction into Muthoot and into the landscape as well. And I'm glad that both of you could give your time today for the fireside session. Before that, let's do a quick poll, let's say, and gauge our audience's insights and where they are on the maturity curve as well. Team, do we have the first poll question? We should be in with the first poll question in a bit. Do you currently use AI with trusted enterprise data in your ERP system? We would like to know. Do you currently use AI with trusted enterprise data in your ERP system? The question will be up for under 5 seconds, and then we will have the results. Okay. Can we have the results, please? Okay. 53% say that they're planning to implement. Okay. And an overwhelming 41% has a no. All right. Noted on that part. Can we have the next question? Which aspect of ERP transformation do you find more challenging? It should be up in a while. Team, can we have the question and the options for the audience? All right. Here's the second question. Which aspect of ERP transformation do you find most challenging? Is it technical implementation? Is it user adoption or cost management? All right. User adoption is the most challenging part of the ERP transformation, followed closely by cost management, then technical implementation. So it goes user adoption, cost management, technical implementation. Noted on that part. All right, let's have the third poll question. What is the biggest challenge you face in ERP transformation? Is it change management? Is it building a scalable foundation? Or is it leveraging AI and Gen AI? Is it change management, building a scalable foundation, or leveraging AI and Gen AI? Should be up for under 5 seconds, then we will see the results. Okay, so change management is the biggest challenge of ERP transformation, followed closely by Gen AI and AI. And then comes the building a scalable foundation. So it goes change management, leveraging AI, Gen AI, and then building a scalable foundation. Wow, what a wonderful insight it is. Thank you so much. The next question, please. Can we have the next question, team? All right. How important is it for your organization to have a scalable foundation for ERP transformation? We would like to know where the organization priorities are when it comes to building a scalable foundation for ERP transformation. Okay, may we have the results? It's quite important. 65% of them said it's extremely important. That's wonderful. Okay, last question on the screen now. Which new age technology do you believe has the most potential? Can we have the question and the options, please? Yes. Which new age technology do you believe has the most potential to maximize ROI in ERP transformations? Is it AI, Gen AI, cloud computing, or IoT? Which new age technology has the most potential to maximize your ROI in ERP transformations? AI, Gen AI, cloud computing, or IoT should be up on the screen for 5 seconds, and then we will have the results. This one should be interesting. All right, should we have the results, please? AI followed by cloud computing, closely followed behind by Gen AI, and then Internet of Things. Okay, so Gen AI and IoT stand equally, but AI is definitely up there, followed by cloud. Cloud is ubiquitous, so yes, I agree on that part as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, audience, for participating. Thank you, team, for helping me out with the poll questions. I think Firas and Piyush, now you have good insights into the organization's priorities and how the attendees, the lovely audience that's here, also views some of their priorities. So that should be a setting point for us to move into the fireside conversation. So let's begin. What say? Perfect.
That's good.
Perfect. So you did hear from the audience on where their challenges lie. But Firas, I would like to ask you, why are enterprises struggling today to achieve full ROI from ERP implementation?
First of all, again, thanks for participating and for those insights. This is amazing to hear the live feedback of the realities that we perceive or think, and it's an amazing confirmation. I would like to first start actually with an assertion that I don't think all enterprises are struggling with maximizing or achieving that full ROI. The way I would describe this is, first I'm going to take a step back, calculating, so that is forecasting and then measuring and attaining the return on the investment for an ERP transformation. The good news is that it includes the fundamentals of any business case, the tangibles, the intangibles, how much money I'm going to spend, how long, how much I'm going to get in return, and in what ways. Some of them you can touch, others are just a little bit softer. They do include the cost savings. I don't think an enterprise should embark on a modernization of ERP without putting those on paper. You know, as a techie, I may actually gravitate toward just doing an upgrade or transformation so that I can land on the latest and greatest because it's cool, it's a shiny object. But of course, that wouldn't drive necessarily business outcomes. In other words, all of these transformations should be planned and implemented with that in mind. And as a result, a corresponding business case to be developed. And yes, that should result in some measurable benefits to the business. Cost savings tops that list traditionally. Productivity, I think some of the audience told us about these. Can I do things faster? Can I go to market with the processes that I'm running in my SAP system? In this case, I'm going to double down on SAP as the examples. Customer satisfaction. I think it was an amazing answer here with one of the questions touching on the experience. More often than not, when you land at this optimal state, in the case of SAP working backward, for example, with Rise and Grow and the AI and Gen AI capabilities within it, Joule is an example, you can interact with those systems much more quickly. You can find insights in them without having to understand all the nuances of the interfaces and so on. So user satisfaction goes up. I know I get happier every time I interact with those systems through those insights. The combination of all of the above serve as the foundation for this business case and the associated returns, where I think, and I see that with the engagement with our customers, things get a little difficult, is that either an organization embarks on the transformation just because they want to go to the latest without considering all of the above, or somewhere along the lines, especially when it comes to AI and Gen AI, we become more risk averse. And I'm not advocating just leaning in and doing silly things, but we deviate from the original intent because of the fear of exposure. And as a result, you end up not unlocking the full potential in the versions that you're migrating to, for example. And to me, that becomes the biggest reason for some of the organization not attaining the full ROI.
Thank you so much, Firas, for that insight. I would like to ask Piyush for his insight now on, as Firas said, not all organizations are struggling with ROI, but there are some who do face some challenge. So where is the struggle now to achieve full ROI on ERP implementation?
Westing, I think Firaz touched on most of the critical elements, which as an implementation partner or as a product company you would have faced. And that's actually correct. But, when it comes to implementation, then obviously you would have seen success happening most of the time. They being a good implementation partner, let's say, considering, they're good implementation partner, they've done all the processes right, they've talked to the right people, they engage with the right set of people. But actually, somewhere I feel, where the problem rises in terms of, how your legacy application is, right? Now
Mm.
you're planning to move to a single platform, let's say, right? Companies have different platform, different versions, different databases, and if it's an upgrade, I think that's all right. You are on a certain version of an ERP and you're moving to another. Then when it comes to actually standardizing your platform, that's where the biggest challenge is. Now the challenge is not just technology; it is also the user, the mindset, right? And also, how we are able to engage them to use that application, because all the user interfaces will change. We from IT would think it from a very different angle, in terms of performance, in terms of automation. For them, it is business, right? They would need to do work on a certain application, and the whole of it would change. So somewhere, the most important I feel is that the most important is how, not talking about different application environment, but per se we need to have the requirements have to be very clear. Now that requires management involvement and departments as well, where it is not just the key players, it is the actual users who have to actually put in their requirements. So that goes without saying, that you need to have that requirements in place, the clear requirements in place. Then what is the data which we're going to use for our ERP applications? The data hygiene is very important, right? We may be talking about some application working, and we just keep putting in data which is of no use. Finally, it has to come back as a result, as a report or as an MIS at the click of a button. Now, if we have too much of data, then getting that information will always be a problem. So cleansing of data, the hygiene of the data is most important there. Then see, ERP implementations are not um, economical. They are very, when we look at an ROI per se, uh, we would see a lot of benefit in 2 years time or 3 years time, right? But the initial cost which is involved is quite high if we're talking about a good ERP application, right? And the budgets have to be clearly defined, and we have to look at the infra which is in place. If it's cloud, then we have to ensure that the kind of consumption we're going to have, because eventually it just skyrockets. We would not know how much. If you're talking about one, it just gets into three. Looking at, we would not anticipate how much of consumption or usage would be there. Whether it's space or compute or whatever components we have, right? If we have it like traditionally they were on-prem, so we knew this is what we have and we have to manage it within this, right? So we have a kind of a calculation in our hands at that. But the kind of channels which we have opened, which are integrated with the ERP solution, the kind of inputs which we get, ingress, egress. So you get to see that there is a lot of data which is moving in and out, right? And that
Okay.
is something which we need to estimate at the onset. So this is primarily, I feel that there are a lot of things which have to go, and the initial planning which happens before implementation of any application ERP is the most important. Then it is more of following on the various actions in the project plan. I think in the end, it is another important thing is how you impart the training. So you would need to keep the key users involved right from the the last few stages where you're doing a CRP, or let's say taking a sign off, because eventually they would go and use and they're going to train the people. So these are the couple of things which I've seen have been a challenge, and it should not just be done because we are going ahead and there is a bigger application in the market, we should go for it. Sometimes smaller bits with the API integrations work well, right? So we have to be very careful of this fact that we probably just going to blow up our money and not get what we're looking at, and that's where the ROI question comes.
Noted, Piyush. Thank you so much on that detailed explanation of what happens in the enterprises and how enterprises also view ERP transformation. Where are the blind spots for enterprises to make note of, especially when it comes to cloud consumption and the compute power too. So moving to you, Firas, on the same lines. Now, when we talk about Gen AI helping enterprises optimize ERP functions, beyond automation, what are the other areas that it can contribute in? Say with predictive analytics or with intelligent recommendations. I let you take your call, but where are the other areas?
Before I get to that, actually, so this is the destination when you've unlocked those features, and I will address the question directly. Gen AI and AI in general plays a more important role actually on the journey. So here's the cool things, and I'm not playing on words here, but We're using AI to help our customers on the journey to get to that destination where they can unlock AI. That's honestly the coolest thing. And here's an example. We approach this very complex monetization journey. I mean, Piyush just touched on a lot of those landmines that make the journey difficult, attaining the return on investment difficult, all the things that we have to be mindful of, especially that most of these ERP systems like SAP are running the most of mission critical processes and hosting the most important parts of the data for the business. But we organize our capabilities, especially from an AI perspective, to help customers on this journey across two things. I'll call the first one accelerators and the other one services. Accelerators are predominantly related to things that we can do to prepare and then at the end to optimize. So think of the documentation and the knowledge management. Whenever we start with the analysis and the assessments to begin this journey, more often than not, the functions have been heavily customized but haven't been documented. The code that's there has been customized over potentially decades with the original developers having moved on. So we are using Gen AI tools to help us observe, to help us build documentation, knowledge bases, and to document the code to give us a more robust understanding of the starting point. And then, of course, as we begin with the execution, that's what I refer to as the services, taking the same capabilities in the case of code, for example, to help us change the code, to help us refactor it automatically or give developers a head start on it. Joule plays a very important role in this. It's a lot of these functions are built into SAP itself. In the case of SAP, we have our custom capabilities that we have developed over the years as well, but then also equally important, the cloud native capabilities from the likes of AWS, Azure, GCP, and so on. You combine all of the above to streamline the assessments, the knowledge based, so that you launch the foundation on something much more solid than the shaky understanding that you might have today, and then optimize the journey so that you can reduce the manual labor and the mistakes associated with it. And then you land at that destination. So my long-winded way to answer your direct question is you continue using these. I'll go back to Joule as an example in the case of SAP and the user experience. You can now interact with this system with natural language. You can connect other systems to it. I'll single out and call out the connectors out of Microsoft Teams. And yes, that drives the experience, it improves the experience, but also it reduces the burden on employees from different parts of the business that are interfacing with the system to understand that system. Piyush, you touched on a very important point, and that is the mindset of the adoption. Now we went to a new version. It's different. It's completely, sometimes complicated on the surface. We're abstracting the need to kind of spend more time to be acquainted with it through those experiences, and that just drives productivity. That fulfills and brings that momentum forward. That helps attain some of those ROI challenges that we touched on in the first question.
Noted, Firas. Piyush, where do you see Gen AI beyond automation helping enterprises with ERP transformation?
I think in terms of ERP as an application in itself is for automation, for transparency, for better visibility, compliance also, a lot of compliance, especially in finance industry or otherwise, and obviously speed to market and, but then, when it comes to insights, if you need insights, correct decisions, the actions which you take to actually automate these processes, this is where Gen AI is going to help us, right? Or let's say AI is going to help us. Now, traditionally the ERP systems were more of automation, if we have to say. Now, with the advent of AI and Gen AI, a lot of RPA processes as well, I would say, this is started giving us insights. Now, let's say if one of our CRM systems, we have a customer in front of us, and we would now need to cross sell, upsell, or kind of give them offers, right? Now the data, now the ERP systems can interpret this data and tell us exactly what. It's not just I'm talking about an analytics model or something which it is inbuilt in as part of the ERP application, right? It would do its own analytics, and it will tell you exactly how you need to cross sell or upsell. Now, a lot of campaign management as well you can do, with the data, with the AI driven data you have, right? Plus, let's say we're talking about chatbots now. So these are all AI-driven chatbots. These are all interfaced with your ERP application, right? For us, our chatbots are like parallel banking, right? People don't need to come to the bank. They can do all their transactions except for coming and depositing the gold. So and then they talk in all languages. Like India, you have if we're talking about our organization, which is across north and south, about 7,000 branches in all states, right? We need to have that kind of a connect. So we are actually talking about chatbots now are talking in various languages, and they can change the language as well, right? Now we have that technology. We all are aware of that, right? So, and that goes for the voice bots also, humanoid voice bots. No, these are separate applications, but they're all integrated to our core applications finally, right? To give us a data which is more informed than actually just running our activities. So our activities now within the ERP applications are based on certain more informed decisions, right? Rather than just an automation of existing data. So to me, Gen AI is actually working in the background to help us work in our ERP applications, and this is assisted by various technologies, whether it be not just AI. I would say even IoT, like we have digital locks, like we have a digital lock in our in our branches, which are OTP based, right? So that again is driven by data, and if we need to work on an on a CMS solution or a monitoring solution, we need to have and we need to take out insights. We need to have this data run on an AI, right? So, so it's a core part of our application. ERP is just not automation, like enterprise resource planning, right? It's not just resource planning now. It's not that you have a printer or a or or your human resources, or it's all about data now. How you're going to manage your resources to get the maximum productivity.
Noted, Piyush. Now,
Yeah.
Firas, my question to you. Kindle Bridge or Gen AI Navigator platform, which manages the entire AI lifecycle. How does this help ERP transformations vis-a-vis traditional AI integrations?
Look, the short answer I was saying is that it's the same practically. It applies to ERP. There are some nuances, especially in the case of SAP. There are always important considerations. Let me take a step back, actually. So, data is the foundation for any of this AI enablement. Piyush touched on it, the cleansing the data and so on.
True.
But there's more to it. It's not just data. There are cultural elements, the mindset, the change management, and so on, and the return on the investment, making the case for it. We touched on all these things. So yes, we have a set of assets we call the Gen AI Navigator. As the name implies, it's a way to navigate all these elements, the dependencies, so you can plan them, bake the associated cost cases with them, the returns on the investment. It's not a product. It's just our framework that we use to engage for rapid prototyping, for taking POCs to production, and so on. And yes, we have something called the Kindle Bridge, maybe a quiz to the audience. If you remember it from the opening slide, the very simple slide that I shared, it was at the center of the slide, where we draw our capabilities to deliver services for our customer, and then we bridge the insights from how we deliver those services into a single data lake for insights and for actions and so on. So laying the foundation across any organization to get those connectors, to cleanse the data, as Piyush was saying, to even identify where the data is, to unify its architecture, on and on and on. Kindle Bridge helps us help our customers build that foundation, and from there really begin the AI the AI journey. And now when it comes to ERP, and it's just think of Kindle Bridge within this context that I'm outlining here as the broader framework. But I'll give you an example. One of the capabilities that we joined, that we developed as part of the massive volume of migrations that we've helped our SAP customers perform. Several of them were in India, of course. We developed capability to automate how we process data from the source to the destination, selective data transfer. With the wisdom that I'm going from one location and I've been using it for, let's say, decades, to a new destination on Rise or S4 on the cloud. Do I really need to bring all of my data? And the traditional wisdom would be probably not. But it's easier said than done to just say, okay, I'm going to bring this piece and I'm going to just take it there. The techies will probably want to bring all the only the active data. The business will probably want to keep everything. So somewhere in between probably will be the average. But then it gets more complicated because it shouldn't just be a time policy. All data past 5 years should be cleansed. There may be some amazing insights with those data elements. Conversely, there may be useless insights in a more recent data element. So this is an example where we're leveraging insights from data, and yes, AI at points to do this selection and then to calculate the risk associated with leaving it behind. So in other words, to kind of bring it all back into a full circle, it's predominantly the same elements that we use leveraging Kyndryl Bridge and beyond to help our customers launch this AI journey that applies to an ERP transformation like SAP with some additional nuances that we extend.
Dr. Firas, thank you so much for talking about Kyndryl's groundbreaking solutions on that. Now, coming to AI readiness, that is also a major challenge in ERP transformation. Piyush, would you like to throw light on what's the enterprise's perspective on it when it comes to AI readiness?
AI readiness would mean first the mindset, For me, it is that people are ready to accept AI because it currently AI is more in terms of what you feed to it, right? It would give you that. Plus, I feel it is also what you're looking at eventually, what you're looking from AI, right? Uh, if you're thinking of it just as a tool to represent something, I think we're still not looking. We just automating things, right? Here, when we talk about AI, it should be the insights, what eventually is going to help you in business. Um, uh, One obviously is the mindset. Then there is a lot of skill required. You yourself should be skilled to interpret AI. Now, um, uh, the team should be equipped to understand that this is what they actually need. The IT team themselves, like we have a lot of vendors in the market, and we keep struggling with them. But yes, and knowledge on AI and how it works is very essential to actually interface with the partners as well, right? Then the AI would need a lot of infrastructure as well. I feel somewhere the compute increases if you're talking about a lot of data. A simple case like let's say if you what we have done is like a branch for branch security, we have GPUs installed in each of our branches where we are utilizing the visuals for security, right? So these GPUs are quite costly in terms of they're not just uh, uh, they have a lot of they have to do a lot of compute to actually interpret certain images. So, we have to understand that some of these would require investment as well. And not all of these would actually work, because again, this is a newer technology. Your expectation is very different from what you would get, right? Sometimes it's just a click of a button and I want to see everything in front of me, right? Now,
Yeah.
there are different databases, there are different capabilities. Some of this would require not just AI, but other tools as well. So, the expectation that everything will come together in a certain format is not possible, right? That's something which is off as of now. I'm sure, with more technology, with more APIs getting integrated, and I'm sure there is now. I might not be aware of it, but having gone through a lot of such sessions, I know that there are capabilities which come at a cost as well, right? So expectation versus the outcome versus the cost involved. I think that is where the readiness should be. We can always explore things in whatever way we would. Each industry has need to have a specific use case to itself. If I talk about the metaverse, which is a technology which came in some time back, and it's still there, a lot of use cases are there. But sometimes in certain product companies you can think of it, but services, I'm not sure. It just boils down to having a meeting somewhere, and people representing themselves as a avatar. And so I somehow feel that we have to understand first. I think we have to understand because all our discussions are around AI. So and when you meet, then you get to see that yes, it is being used, where all it's being used. So knowledge sharing definitely helps to to take this to a different level. You know. And responsible AI is very important. So, each of us while implementing have to ensure that we are responsibly doing it, and we're not creating something which is going to trouble us in the future. So, I think we have to, though we just want to go ahead and do something quickly, in terms of AI, but um, uh, without actually understanding, we have to really be sure of what we're going to get after it, right? So not like we jump to it, but I think small steps would help, understanding it each at a time. Also, if you talk about DPDP, now currently in India, Firaz, I would like to mention that we have a DPDP, like the way we have GDPR, right, in European countries otherwise. So DPDP Act is very similar now. So it is going to become a law, but right now it's an act, right? So again, that will also change how AI would work, in terms of how we keep the data,
Yes.
data classification, how we classify the data, how we protect the data, who's going to use it, who's going to interpret it, So all that would actually change the AI landscape as well. So we have to consider all these things before actually looking at AI. Otherwise, I think machine learning is good enough. To some extent, machine learning also gives us probably at a
More or less
slow
the
at a
same
slower rate maybe, but it gives you kind of a very confirmed results. But not shying away from the technology, but being just very careful about how you use it.
Well, that's a good way to put it. Thank you so much, Piyush. Firas, you heard from Piyush on how enterprises view AI readiness and what are the hindrances. It's literally like a hurdle race right now. But how does Kindle address this challenge to accelerate Gen AI adoption in ERP systems?
I was testing you, but thank you. So,
Okay.
so the short answer I was saying is we approach it through the lens of what I'll call the landmines that Piyush just mentioned. And look, Piyush, I loved how you kicked it off. I think you said it starts with the mindset, with the culture. Before you went to technology, you started with this, and I firmly believe in this. I do think it requires a digital foundation that consists of two things: the technology, so that's all the fun stuff, and then this culture, the mindset, the change management. Technology, that's what includes everything about the data, accessing, cleansing it, the architecture, the security. We could talk for hours about this, and I tend to. So more often than not, we gravitate towards this because they're complex, and clearly that's where the implementation is, the technology. But we don't stand the chance to succeed unless we solve the other elements. A lot of the things that Piyush was touching on. So we approach it through mindset. We have an offering to help customers begin this journey with a plan, with an assessments for these. And when it comes to culture, simple things. With the technology, yes, you need the data and you need access to it. But say we've identified where all the data is, accessing it is another thing. More often than not, in a very large enterprise, in a federated enterprise, different departments run their own and they manage their own data. Getting that data out and making sure it's changed so that it's uniform across the board is easier said than done. So getting that buy-in from the business to relinquish the data, to truly treat it as a business data, not a department data, is a critical prerequisite. And again, easier said than done. That's just one example. The talent pool, we talk about it a lot, of course, and there's more pressure on it. Especially when we're talking now in the context of SAP with the 2027 date looming. And yes, there may be some options for transition plans, so a little bit longer, but those options involve a commitment to begin the journey. That's adding more strain on that talent pool, and that's where a partner can help because we have that bench, we have the ecosystem to mobilize to help get going on this journey, to assemble those pieces around the culture dependencies and then the technical implementation.
Noted. Firas, stay with me here because I'm going to ask you on what are the key performance metrics for tracking ERP success for you?
To the starting question around the ROI, because it really needs to boil down to doing the transformation with intent, and the intent must be related to a business outcome. I'll continue to blame myself as a techie. I would always want to migrate to the latest because it's cool. It's going to bring new features, new capabilities, and that's okay as long as I'm linking those cool features to an outcome that will benefit the business. In other words, it shouldn't just be done for the sake of an upgrade, and rather it should be done for the sake of unlocking those features to bring some business benefit, and that adds more pressure on us, on the enterprise, to embrace those features. Again, tying it to the first question Otherwise, we won't attain the ROI. So to quantify the business outcomes, we'll always have to start with the improvements, with the cost reductions, process efficiencies. That's one of the most important KPIs for me. How am I able now to do things more efficiently? How am I able to connect the processes? And yes, there are easy measures in this: the time to market, the volume of the transactions that I would otherwise have to do, and now that I've been able to reduce. But also, what's the ripple effect of this? Now that I'm able to go to market quickly on whatever function it is that I'm doing within this ERP system, can I do more with this excess capacity? Can I redirect the excess capacity in my workforce to do some other things? Can I gain a competitive edge? So translating all of the above into operational efficiency, doing more with less, but also building the foundation with those new features for observability. That's an important KPI. Can I
Absolutely.
now can I now track and see not just the performance of my application, but also the lineage of the data, also the dependencies? Kyndryl Bridge, that's the platform that we use for observability, which integrates with other tools. I will single out as an example Dynatrace, and you connect all of the above with the SAP migration, and now you're truly seeing a holistic end-to-end business observability, and so many KPIs can be tracked through that. So that's kind of the general theme how I'd approach making sure, as we work with customers, we're helping them calibrate along the way, because things change, and keeping pulse on the maturity and the progression and unlocking the new features through those KPIs.
Firas, would you like to share any of the success stories that you've seen? Because you've had an inside view of the entire evolution as well.
Too many to count, but I will single out two in in India. Clearly, I did the homework here to kind of have a couple of relevant examples. Dilip Buildcon is the one I start with, and it's a fascinating company. We're in the infrastructure business. That's what we refer to it. It's IT infrastructure. They're in the infrastructure business, the real infrastructure, the physical infrastructure. And a longstanding customer of ours, we help them modernize their SAP estate to S4 on the cloud. It took a while, back to the complexity, but also the plan and the execution. They attained hard measurable in the millions of savings. There's a use case published on our website, so I'm not sharing any state secrets here, including reduction in their working capital. And the most important and coolest statistic for me is that they were able to double the project runs that they would run simultaneously. So yes, they saved money. Yes, they've optimized the processes, but back to that point around gaining a competitive edge. Now they can process with this new system twice as much. They can process twice as many projects. They can double their throughput because the system allows them to. Think of all the possibilities that they can unlock. Another example is Raj Petro, also in India, clearly, where it's a similar kind of transformation to S4 on the cloud. In their case, it was performance. That was a major pain point from the source, availability, and also compliance. So they've improved the recovery, the RPO recovery point objectives to 15 minutes, whereas it used to be 4 hours. So back to the point also around the measurable impact to the business. Now think of the continuity to their business. Should there be a problem, they can guarantee that it's 15 minutes rather than many hours, and think of the possibilities that they can unlock as a result. Just two very simple, quite honestly, examples of the returns on those investments and the successes the customers can see from this journey.
Firas, I will come to you with some of the forward-looking insights you have and what kind of vision we should have as a CIO should have. But first, I'd like to go to Piyush as well now. Piyush, I clearly believe some of these technologies will change ERP transformation, change the whole process of ERP transformation as well. Where do you see this going in the next 5 years at least? I know it's a little tough to answer because within the blink of eye, we go to sleep at night. In the morning, there's some new technology coming in. But what do you see with your experience?
I see a lot of India definitely doing a lot in AI.
For sure.
Why I'm saying that is because of the kind of data we have, right?
Right.
So and how people are adopting technology, even our customers or users, not just companies, how they're accepting technology and how they are ready to give in the data, right? So, so availability of data through various mediums, um, and then different demographical details, so I think because of the kind of data we'll have and the kind of market which is there, uh, there would be a lot of AI driven initiatives, and the companies, I think most of the organizations are working here. So a lot of technology will move in also from outside into India. So not that there would be anything less happening here when I talk about India. Otherwise, as well, in terms of AI, I think the only deterrent could be how we are going to use the data, which I mentioned even earlier, right? But uh, what I see is that a lot of these processes will get very, focused. A lot of our activities will be very focused because we will target it like that, basis the information which we'll get out of Gen AI. A lot of automation, and we'll start getting quick, deliveries in the sense whatever we have planned, which was going to take 6 months, to implement, would happen probably in a month's time, right? So we'll see that kind of speed to market as well. And obviously, in terms of visibility, there will be a lot of visibility, at hand. I'm not discounting here the impact it will have on the workforce. So a lot of people will have to reskill themselves in the near future. Probably alternate professions will come in. I'm talking about five years from now, not now, but 5 years from now. A lot of alternate professions may come in, right? Just to assess the environment which we would be in. So it could be how we communicate, how we attend meetings, how we physically are present. Do we really need to be physically present? Would be another. Are we going ahead with a hologram kind of a image? A lot of science fiction stuff would come in, which we've always seen. Um, and and I think when the major transformation will start happening when AI will start learning on its own. So that is where I feel would be a biggest transformation, but that will not happen in the next 10 to 15 years, I feel, if we are all very responsible. Because if we want, we can just do that now. I think we are all ready to go ahead with that, but I think the implications are too high. So, and very risky. So a lot of this will happen at a very exciting time, because I think these first 2 years will be very formative years. I think every time we meet, we just talk about AI, but underlying is all the business processes, right? We are working in a similar way, but we want it to be done in a different way, right? So, as in the requirement is still the same. Now, how we want to get that is where we are differing, and we want to build in these tools on top of it. So these 2 years will be very formative. Probably policies will come in. A lot of new innovations will be there. A lot of testing would be there. Stabilizing probably it would be there. And then after 2 years, probably we'll start seeing good AI response in the market. That's my thought on it. Obviously, that's very personal to me. This is what I read, whatever limited reading I do in this space.
Absolutely not. It's all based on your experience in the enterprise space as an IT leader as well. And we appreciate your thought. And yes, some of it is scary, but also in a way that technology can change lives, and it will always be for the better. And that's why there are guardrails as well. And hopefully they'll all come through for the ERP transformation. Firas, your view on how ERP transformation will evolve in the next 5 years?
I'm good. Well, am I on mute this time, or did I
Absolutely
succeed?
not. We are still checking.
I'm just gonna replay everything Piyush said practically. But joking aside, the AI at the core is how I'd summarize it. It's unambiguous. It's one of the easier predictions that any of us can make. But here's how I also feel good about this prediction. You'd mentioned in my kickoff, you remember in my kickoff, I mentioned that Kyndryl is a spin-off 3.5 years ago. So we've begun this journey to spin off clearly before the actual date. So let's say around 4 years. And we brought with us from our old company around 1,800 applications. And part of the spin-off was to agree on a transition out of those systems In 2 years, we did it by consolidating those 1,800 applications down to less than 300. The vast majority of those applications that retired went onto SAP. At the time of the design, so that's 4 years ago, we chose S4 on the cloud. We have since now moved it to Rise. But my point here is that in those 4 years, Rise became a much more viable option for a very large, complex single instance like ours, which includes AI, by the way. And with this space now, with SAP declaring that they're an AI company, they practically are. And with some of the recent announcements they've made this year around the BDC, the Business Data Cloud, and Joule also going mainstream, and some integration with third-party tools like Databricks, it's very unambiguous to me that the foundation is there to operationalize this for mission-critical stuff, and including outside of SAP. That integration is for me a critical thing. So a prediction will be, yes, AI at the core, but also more integrations, because we have the capabilities, and that's going to allow data to flow across the organization between different systems, helping with broader observability. We touched on observability a little bit earlier. And then the last thing I'll say, as an offshoot to this, I would predict or maybe hope that there will be less investments in customizations, because for an enterprise to unlock this full benefit, you can consume the as is services, the built-in capabilities. You can customize it from the outside rather than build the investments into kind of opening the core and intertwining the customizations with the run. It's a heavy investment to do. It's much heavier to maintain, and it becomes a hurdle for moving into the future some further when more features are unlocked. But it all comes back to AI at the core.
That's an interesting insight. Less investment in customization. Okay, so you can layer the customization on top, probably
Exactly.
not change the core.
Decouple them.
So that way your investments are safe and you can direct them to something else. Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. Firas, last final word for CIOs or decision makers taking up ERP overalls.
Doing what side?
Taking up ERP transformation. One last final word, if you'd like to put in for CIOs and IT leaders.
Remember this AI first kind of, well, the AI at the core, and maybe adopt an AI first mentality. I've mentioned to another group recently, I spent most of my career in delivery, and the biggest kind of transformation now years ago in the mindset was automation first. We rely on automation, and then we fall back on manual labor for everything that we cannot automate. And that made a significant difference. That got us the efficiencies and the consistency and the scale that we now have. Same with AI. And we've come a long way just in 2 years. It's amazing. The hype is kind of still there, but we have a lot more predictable and credible implementations now. The anxieties of the risks are still there, but they've subsided, and hopefully they won't go. They need, our mindfulness of the risk should always be there, but it's a more balanced approach now. So embracing this, adopting an AI first mentality, culture, back to the culture, will help CIOs, in my opinion, begin this journey. I would say approach it with the perspective of the need to unlock those features. So working backwards from the destination. Why is it that I want to do this journey? It's because I'm going to get some return in the way of tangible things with the cost and the efficiencies, or intangible, that additional capacity for the business, and embrace it along the line of that journey, making sure the surprises, the hurdles, the bumps along the way will not sway us back into saying, okay, we're going to tune this down, because then we've done a transformation for the sake of transformation rather than to drive a business outcome. So embracing AI and embracing this transformation mindset, and use help. There's help out there. We have methods and consultants that can jump in to augment. I'm not pretending that we always want to do everything for everyone, but we can always assemble the right pieces from the different parts of the ecosystem.
It's not everything everywhere all at once. All right, Firas, thank you so much. And I liked how you said first envision the outcomes and the features, and then you can reverse engineer. That's my favorite word, actually. Yes. Thank you so much, Firas. Thank you so much, Piyush. I personally learned a lot, and I hope our audience did as well. We spoke so much on ERP transformation, on how Gen AI comes into picture. And Firas, thank you for giving us an insight onto Kendall Bridge and Gen AI Navigator platform as well. And Piyush, lovely talking to you on all the enterprises. You gave us quite a few details on how you think the entire landscape is going to evolve in
Invaluable.
5 years. Yes, and that's
Thanks,
an
thanks for
excellent food for
a
thought.
lot of insights. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for taking time out for this and joining us in this session, and to the Kindrel and the ETCIO team for facilitating this conversation. Hope to see you more in such conversations, and for more updates, stay tuned to ETCIO. Thank you so much.